Joining me now with more on the impact the judicial branch is having on President Trump's agenda is U.S. Agency for Global Media senior advisor and former gubernatorial candidate Kari. Kari, thanks very much for being here.
Good to be with you this morning.
I'll mention one, the April 18th court case requesting an injunction against Trump's April 2nd Liberation Day tariffs was denied. The next court date is May 13th. How would you assess these federal judges trying to stop President Trump's agenda?
Well, they're completely out of control. I mean, they're basically usurping the power of the president. And I've got a district judge who's coming after us and telling us how to run an agency. The president has Article 2 powers to run the executive branch of this government, and we're seeing a whole handful of judges trying to stop that and really subvert the will of the people. In our situation over at U.S. Agency for Global Media, we're trying to modernize it, and we're trying to shrink it down a little bit because of the bloat there. And the federal judge is basically saying, you can't do that. You have to hire everybody back, and we hadn't even fired anybody. We put people on leave so we could assess and shrink this agency down. And the beautiful thing about President Trump is he wants to come in and bring this government under control. It's gotten way too big, and now we've got a bunch of judges saying, no, President Trump, you can't do that. The people voted for President Trump, and they're trying to subvert the will of the people here. I don't think it'll work in the end. I believe that eventually these cases will move higher up, and President Trump will be victorious. But unfortunately, it's the delay that's preventing the work from being done. You know, we don't want to get rid of Voice of America. We want to save what's salvageable and maybe get rid of an agency and move things like Voice of America, Office of Cuba Broadcasting, over to the Department of State, where, frankly, the last time when they were under Department of State, they were effective. Now they have not become effective. They've gotten too big, and the president wants to actually shrink things down and get things a little more under control.
Well, it's not just the federal funding, it's also tariffs. I mean, next week we've got multiple tariff deadlines, including the implementation of the 25% tariff on global auto parts, the closing of the China-Hong Kong de minimis loophole, the Office of Management budget assessment of the America First trade policy. Are you expecting these cases to go to the Supreme Court?
It's going to have to go there, and I wish we could just skip right over and get to the Supreme Court and get this taken care of. Because in many of these cases, you've got Soros-linked attorneys who are just trying to make some money and delay the president's agenda. And you've got judges who, you know, in many cases may be compromised. We're seeing some of this around the country. Why are they doing this? And so I think it will eventually get to the Supreme Court. My concern, and I believe the concern of the American people, is the delay and the time that is ticking away, keeping President Trump, keeping people like me that he's brought in and hired to do our job. And it's very concerning that judges are behaving this way. I would rather follow the Constitution than a judge who's got an agenda.
Well, the Democrats are pushing back, saying that the FBI arresting that Wisconsin judge, accusing her of obstructing immigration officials, is one step too far. I mean, to watch judges in handcuffs has lots of people up in arms. Your reaction to what took place in Wisconsin?
Well, if you break the law, you end up being charged. If you break the law, you end up in handcuffs. And it appears that this judge broke the law. And, you know, we're making sure that the law is applied here. Doesn't matter if you're a judge, if you're a regular everyday person. And so I think if she broke the law, if what is said about what happened and what transpired in that courthouse is true, then she deserves to be, frankly, in handcuffs and arrested. And, you know, she will get her due process, and we'll figure out what happened. But we've got to get these people who are here illegally. I'm from the state of Arizona. We've got to get these people who are here illegally out of this country. It's appalling that a judge would try to harbor or protect an illegal immigrant that is in the process of actually being the victim that he allegedly abused, was right there in the courtroom, and she's trying to protect the abuser and the illegal immigrant. It's just, it's unbelievable what's happening in this country right now. And this is just an attempt, in my opinion, to stop President Trump and his America First agenda that the people overwhelmingly voted for. Yeah. Thankfully, the president has brought in some really good fighters to D.C., people who don't want to become permanent creatures. I'm just as happy to doge myself out of a job and go on and help President Trump in another way. But he's brought in people who want to get the job done. And these judges judges are trying to stop us from getting the job done. In the end, we will prevail. It's going to take a little bit of time, and it's unfortunate that these judges don't care more about America and the will of the people.
Particularly since the border is likely the most important success story in the first 100 days, that's for sure, as well as reining in inflation.
That's right.
Kari, thanks very much. We'll keep following your work. U.S. Agency for Global Media Senior Advisor, Kari Lake, thank you so much.